Welcome, everybody. Here we are at the podcast again. We're all back in the room.
Back
we were here
together.
last week, weren't we?
We were in the
we
room.
Well, we've just been separated throughout the week.
That's right. Greg was gone for this weekend like I was gone last weekend. So
Yep.
welcome back, Greg.
Thank you much.
I
Glad
am
to
the
have you
great
here.
consistency.
You are the rock, man. You're in the middle, and you're the one who's always
Whatever.
here.
My gosh.
You might be out in the next few weeks a little
I'll be
bit.
out a little bit.
Give me this
Got little
garbage.
minor family adjustments going on.
Mhm.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Me either.
Yeah. No, can you not?
Sitting over here on the edge of my seat.
yeah.
We got two staff members right now sitting on ready with babies coming.
Just wait for my phone to ring at this point in time.
Me too. Every time the phone beeps, I'm like, is it Michael?
Have
Is it
you been
Michael?
waiting up? I have thought about that. Have you been waiting up like at night? Do you have your phone on loud at night?
I don't. Your mom does.
Okay, all right. So she's the one to call.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes.
That's good to know. I hadn't established that yet.
I'll tell you this: when we were pregnant with Hope, I'll just tell you this: we were pregnant with Hope, and we had gone in. It was time for her to be born. We'd gone into the doctor's office, and they said, "Hey, you're in labor. You need to go to the hospital." So I'm calling parents and everything, saying, "Hey, if you want to be here, you better come on." We lived about an hour away from parents. My dad didn't answer his phone. I called him like 5 times in a row, and he didn't answer his phone. And so finally, I let them.
What time was it?
This was like at 4:00 in the afternoon, kind of
Okay.
deal. So
Pretty regular
yeah,
time.
I mean, just and so I finally called and left him a voicemail and said, "If you want to be here for the birth of your granddaughter, get your butt to the hospital."
And
then
what
She
happened?
was born quick, right?
Yeah, I mean, she was. Oh, we got to the hospital about 4:30 that afternoon, and she was born at 9:00 that night.
yeah, okay.
yeah.
So that,
Did he make it?
Oh yeah, he made it. He made it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Guarantee you what's going to happen if it's middle of the night. You're going to call your mom. She's going to hear the phone and wake me up.
Yeah. I thought about this week. What if it happens like or Sunday morning? What if you know
I asked
Her-
your mom that
her
yesterday.
water
or
breaks
Saturday.
at 7:45 Sunday morning? You just gotta.
Well, hang on. First of all, what are you gonna do?
Oh well, I mean, I'll be prepared to leave.
Just kidding.
I'll have. Yeah, what you think I'm gonna cut?
I mean, I'm like,
I will miss
you
that day.
You go tell Becca, be like, "Hey, I got to run digital
Sorry,
real quick."
I gotta hit the.
We got a
stream
live
today.
stream.
No, we'll
I
be
guess-
prepared.
I assume you've thought about that if
yeah,
this happens.
yeah, definitely.
Yes,
I guess if the live stream's just gone one Sunday, they'll know
Yeah.
what's happening.
Oh, today's the
Maybe.
day.
If
Must
it's
have
a
happened.
bunch of huge errors.
I thought about that. I asked Alexa last, I think Saturday, and it first occurred to me. I said, "What if she goes into labor like at 7:00 on a Sunday morning?" She said, "You'll just preach and then come to the hospital."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Really? Is that what I do?"
I would like to see you. I mean, there's like a part of me wants to see you like try to preach on having this.
I
on
told
your mind
Alexa
as
the same
well.
thing. I said, "Can you imagine me preaching knowing that I've got a grandbaby being
Like
delivered?"
every other word that's coming out
I
of his
would
mouth
hope
is going to
that
go back to this.
Typically, you know, if it were something like that where water breaks in the morning, you got a few hours. I mean, you've got at least hours before this happens.
So, but
So,
worst
yeah.
case is like 3 a.m. on a Saturday night.
Yeah, that would actually be worse. Would be because then
I don't know that I want him preaching though, coming in or having been at the hospital since 3 a.m. that morning.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you should be ready.
Yeah.
Be ready, Greg.
We're trying to plan it any minute, having about a 2-day slice of time taken out
Yeah.
for a wonderful thing.
For a fantastic thing.
It's going to be great.
Yep, it is.
Pastor John coming up on it as
Oh,
well.
yeah,
He
he's
is.
probably maybe by next episode.
Maybe by the time this episode drops.
Could be. That's true.
It would not surprise
By the
me
time
for
this
John to
episode
have a
drops,
baby
the
by the
baby's
next
dropped.
time.
Yeah. Hey, let's look at you.
Out.
Right.
Not just in the
Not just
womb.
drop, but out. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's yeah. They're sitting on the edge too.
They are. We're excited about that.
All right. Well, looks like you guys had a good weekend
Yeah.
this weekend. Man,
We
from
did have a
everything
good
I could
weekend.
see. I
Mhm.
got a
Did
chance
have
to
a good
watch it
weekend.
online and listen in a little bit. Looked great from my vantage point, but man, what a
Did
full
we get
day.
actual figure on how many said yes to Christ in the services this weekend?
What I've got 15.
That's what they
that I've seen,
sense.
seen
Wow.
online. Yep.
I think the 10-15 was like 7 or 8
Yeah,
in that one
exactly.
I think it was
service, which
7.
is really, really amazing.
It looked like every service had individuals that
believe
were
that's right,
responding.
yeah.
So
That's really
I tell you what, and that just never gets old. It really doesn't.
It shouldn't. I think sometimes we get used to that
Sure.
because I think most services somebody says yes to Christ,
Mhm.
most of them.
Yeah.
But we should never get used to the fact that 15 people said yes to Jesus this weekend. That's just really, really something.
Well, I mean, you think about.
God's moving.
I mean, exactly. I mean, you think about. I mean, that is a life-changing moment for those individuals where you're stepping out of death and into life. I mean, recognizing and placing Jesus at the center of your life from that moment forward. Man, that is a
it really is.
as a tremendous thing.
Really is.
Great job with the message.
We had fun with that
this
one.
weekend.
I enjoyed that one. I did.
That
Some
was
of them were more fun than others. I liked that one.
I did see you Thursday night. I was picking up Hope from students and everything, and I asked you how it went. He said we had fun with that one. So I mean, that's not always the response that I get from you when I ask you on Thursday night how you felt about it.
Many times I'm like, oh, this one stunk, and I'm dreading having to preach it again on Sunday. You feel that way on the inside, and then people get saved, and they tell you really touch their lives and all that. Some of them just resonate with me better, and I enjoy them better than others. And this is the one I did. I enjoyed this one. So it was fun, and people getting saved. It was just a good weekend.
Yeah.
Packed house at 10:15. My goodness.
Daylight savings probably got us a little bit there.
I think daylight savings probably pulled some people into 10:15
from both sides.
I was about to say, I was going to tell you, man. First service was up, from what it typically is as far as numbers were concerned. So I mean, I think it kind of carried through a little bit there as well. But yeah, no, it was really strong, really
quite
good.
A day. Yeah, quite a day.
So there was this one right here was organized as far as the outline and everything in a pretty cool fashion this week. That you had one statement that kind of kept building on itself over the course of it as we were still in Philippians 3 and looking at verse 12, right?
It was Philippians 3:12. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Sorry. Sometimes it all runs together. Yeah. But I don't want to butcher it too bad. But it was the statement of I'm not where I want to be, but I'm on my way, and I'm not giving up yet, or something like that. Help me out here.
We got to give you some
like
grace. You weren't here.
Help me out a little bit there.
I don't want to butcher it, but I will.
I did read the notes. Okay, I did read the notes this week.
The statement was after a lot, and that was a long time. It took me a long time to land on that statement to try to really boil down what Paul was saying. Mm-hmm. But it came out in Henderson County language. I've got a ways to go, but I'm on my way, and I'm not about to quit.
There it is.
Yeah.
Paul just said, I've not already attained.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not already perfected by any means, but I press on that I may lay hold of that for which Christ Jesus has also laid hold of me. And just kind of condensed that into Western North Carolina. I've got a ways to go, but I am on my way.
Right.
And I'm not about to quit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved it kind of near the beginning when you talked about I've got a ways to go. You gave the illustration of the judo founder being buried in a white belt because he wanted to go out as a learner and not a master. I thought that was a good kind of visual illustration of just always wanting to be learning and never feeling like you've arrived. You talked about Christians that feel like they've arrived often turn mean.
Yeah.
And those are actually the ones that are probably the farthest from where they need to be.
Yeah.
Because the more and more you go into this, the more you kind of realize like how insufficient your own self is and how much you really do rely on God's power and presence in your life. So, yeah.
I listen occasionally to a retired Navy SEAL named Jocko Willink. I listen to his podcast a bit, and he's become kind of a leadership teacher, and he's really got a lot of wisdom. I remember years ago, he's really this kind of commando type guy that you look at, and he's like a soldier. And I remember reading one of his books, and he said the most important quality in leadership is, and it hung there for a minute, and I thought about it. What would he say? I would think maybe toughness. If you look at him, you would think toughness or resilience or strength or courage or something like that. I mean, it's the Navy SEAL, for goodness sakes. He said the most important quality in leadership is humility. And that was really powerful to me because I thought that's straight up what Jesus would say. So many words. Whoever wants to be the greatest among you must become the servant of all. And so the idea is that if you reach a point in your spiritual life where you think you've arrived, watch out, because that's a dangerous place to live. It really is. You can really turn ugly when you think, I've arrived, I'm here.
Yeah.
And I've seen people do it. They get to this place in their Christian life where they think it's now their job to judge everybody else, and they think they're right about everything.
Yeah.
I think a humble leader with some experience and spiritual maturity realizes, hey, I'm not right about everything.
Right.
Yeah.
My perspective on things just isn't perfect. And I've still got things to learn from people who are younger than me, people who may not have the same experience as I do, people who, see the world in a different way. I've got things to learn from everybody.
Right.
But that sense of I've arrived will just stunt your growth and turn you into something pretty ugly.
Yeah.
We as a church, we echo that as well in the sense of, one of our 5 values that we say, makes up the life of a disciple. We throw personal growth in there as well, that we're consistently and constantly challenging individuals to not be content with where they're at in their own personal journey, but to continue to grow, to continue to develop, whether that is whether as an individual, as a parent, as a spouse, as a disciple, in leadership, in your career, whatever it is. Continue to pursue growth, continue to learn from others around you, learn as much as you possibly can, but never be content with where you're at and never feel like that you've learned enough.
Yep.
Yeah. I like to say, sometimes I see them, I call them retired Christians, where it feels like, oftentimes it is like older people that feels like, they've lived their life, they're maybe retired from their actual job. So oftentimes when you talk with them about faith, it's mainly about how bad the world is today and how they're just waiting on Jesus to come back and take everybody home, which is not, I think, a really spiritual practice. You're put on this earth for a specific amount of time to always be working as a believer and always be striving to grow in your knowledge and your faith, and to be striving to get other people in the boat with you, to say.
Paul wrote to the Thessalonians. That type of thinking you're pointing out was there, alive and well in Paul's day, in the New Testament day. He wrote to the Thessalonians. One of his purposes was to say, hey, Jesus is coming back, but your point in life now is not to sit around and wait on the coming of the Lord. Your purpose is to keep on working and to keep on living for Jesus and changing your world, keep on preaching the good news. So, you can fall prey to that temptation, especially when you think you've arrived.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then Paul said, I press on,
mm-hmm.
and I'm laying hold of that for which Christ has laid hold of me. And that was part of the statement where we said, but I am on my way. I do have a course that I'm supposed to finish. And I love the fact that at the end of his life, Paul said that in 2 Timothy, I finished my course. I thought that was really good.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The statement there where you threw in there, he didn't throw it in there, but that you pulled out about, and I'm not giving up. You as you typically do on every single week, you got a little vulnerable with us and shared that, hey, there's times as well. I think you made the statement that I've quit privately several times, and different things like that. I don't know that oftentimes people even think about that, but even as in leadership within the church, it's not always easy, and there are times we just feel like throwing in the towel. What is it for you that helps you kind of come off of that? Hey, this is just how I'm frustrated right now. It's not really what I want to do. What helps you to kind of stay grounded and to swing back around and know that there's something more there?
I do not suffer alone. I don't go off and hide in the corner and internalize it all. I talk to somebody about it.
Yeah.
My poor wife has to deal with it sometimes more than anybody. If I just feel like giving up, I'll talk to her. She's an incredible encouragement to me and picks me up and lifts me up. So just getting it off your chest sometimes helps a whole lot, and being willing to talk about it. Being realistic, too, that's going to happen to all of us. I think you read throughout the Bible, the psalmist David came to a lot of times when he wanted to quit. There were times you even look in the Apostles Paul's life, and I'm trying to think. I can't pull the memory of verse where he just said, I was tempted to quit. But you see these times of contention. He had an argument with Peter at one time, and then he and Barnabas split up at one time. You get the feeling that maybe Paul had a bit of a temper. And then you go through the trials that he went through. He was rejected by some churches, and he's just a human being. He was tempted to quit. So that's part of walking through life with Jesus and being a human being, is just understanding that's just normal for us. And when I share those things, it's just often so that people can see that we all go through it. And the people listening out there certainly go through that in their ministry, in their business, and life. You just reach these points where you're just sick of it all and you want to go away. Sometimes the answer is take a vacation.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to get away. I got away last weekend just because I had to have a bit of a change of scenery. We'd all been here so much working disaster relief, and I just needed to drive and go somewhere. I just went to my dad's house and spent a weekend. Sometimes you just got to get away. You just have to have some sort of a personal time that you just retreat and renew yourself. And that was last weekend for me. Feel so much better after that.
Yeah.
So
Mike,
that's a bit of it.
Mike, what about you? In times of frustration, it just feels like, man, I don't know that this is, I don't know if it's worth it
This
anymore.
is worth it.
Yeah, exactly. What's something that you do?
I don't know.
For you?
For me, it's like mainly focusing on like having specific time blocks in your day where you don't have responsibility.
Okay.
It's important. I think it's like we talk about all the time, like being off work when you're off work, meaning like when you leave, you're done for the day,
Right.
and that's it. And sometimes you're thinking about things, and I think that's the way we all work. Is like I'm at home a lot, and a lot of work stuff is racing through my mind.
Sure.
Of like, oh, this would be a good idea for this, or I don't really want to do that. But trying as best you can to every day, don't just rely on the one beach trip you're going to take in July. Like every day, you need to have some sort of time block where you can just not have a responsibility.
Sure.
And I know that's hard. That gets harder as you gain more,
Yeah.
but you should have some time built into each and every day where the household chores are done, you're off work, if you got kids, they're taken care of, where you can just be you for a little bit. And so for different people, that's different things.
Sure.
If you're an introvert, that probably means going to be by yourself for a minute. If you're really extroverted, you might need to, I don't know, go out and do something outside or something like that. But just whatever it means for you, you ideally every day you should be doing that.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that. Just the whole idea about being willing to recognize, hey, I'm thinking these thoughts, I've got these feelings, but I'm not about to give into them.
Yeah.
I'm not about to let this be the final nail in the coffin, so to speak.
There are times when you do quit a job.
Yeah.
There are times when God gives you a new season and it's time to move on to something new. I'm kind of against quitting in frustration or anger. Make sure your emotions are settled. Make sure you've dealt with the issues as best you can on the job, but certainly deal with the issues within your own heart that you're dealing with, and be at a place of peace when you make a big transition like that. Don't go out in a flame of fire, and just a big explosion of anger and emotion. Don't make big decisions when you're highly emotional, There are appropriate times to quit something, but don't quit on what God's called you to. And that's the thing that kept bringing me back to it. I couldn't do anything but what God's called me to do.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it in this, like, a good point of this is that Paul is literally in prison while he's writing this.
He is.
You talked about it. You talked about like how he's this comes back to what we were talking about earlier. He was still working even while being in prison.
He was.
He was literally writing the Bible.
Indeed.
He didn't know it then, but it would have been easy for him to sit back and say, I've done so good that they threw me in jail.
Right.
That's how much I was preaching. Like they put me away, and yet still in there, he's looking for ways to impact the world, and I'm sure as far as giving up, like what worse place could you think of as a place to give up than prison?
Right.
Right.
And yet still he never gave up, and even all the way to his death. He never gave up and was constantly impacting the world, through a jail cell, through letters at the time.
We have a calling and a purpose that Jesus put here to accomplish, and we need to stick it out and be faithful to it all the way to the end. You mentioned people who just get to a age and they're ready to hand off things to other people, and I understand that sometimes leadership positions you need to make room for younger people and fresh eyes and new perspectives. But I would encourage, we got a lot of retirees here in Henderson County. I'd encourage them all, don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't quit on life. There's a calling for every season of life.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So keep going. I don't intend to traditionally retire. I don't. I
Yeah.
intend to, at some point, I'll get older and somebody will be my successor around here. I hope I'll be able to stick around somewhere and continue to contribute, but continue to do what God's called me to do. But I do not intend to kick back and just
Yeah.
relax at a
Sure.
point in my life. I want to keep going.
Yeah.
Well, it's been good, fellas. Thank y'all so much. Thanks to the audience here. We'll be back again next week. We're going to finish Press On, and then we'll move on. We're going to talk about mental health in the period between now and Christmas, which is really short, it feels like at this point. We're going to address some mental health issues and see what the Bible has to say about that, because that's the crisis we're facing now right here in our community. It's
Very
mental
much so.
health, post-trauma,
Yep.
that type of thing. So we're going to talk about that. Then leading into Christmas, we're going to be talking about the Lamb of God that God provided in Jesus. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Looking forward to it.
See y'all soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.